So when we're classifying the direction of different vectors, there's a couple different ways that we can use to classify them and give their direction. The first one that we go over in that lesson is the Navigator Method. And in that method, what we do is you use the directions north, east, south, and west to specify what direction that vector is. So if we take a look at the top left-hand corner here, I see a vector, and one way that we can classify that is to go, well, this vector is 60 degrees north of the east direction. So if we write that down, what it ends up looking like is 60 degrees north of east. And I apologize for my messy printing. The other way that we can specify the vector using the navigation method is to measure from the north direction. And in that case, this vector is 30 degrees east of north. So we can write that down. East of north. So that's another way that we can do it. Both are correct, but that's how we use the navigation method. You basically pick the vector or the direction and you measure from that one. Another way that we can look at vectors is through the polar positive specification. So what we do for this specification is we take a look at the positive x-axis and we just measure vectors counterclockwise from that positive axis. So if I was to measure this vector up in the top right hand corner using the polar positive specification, I would just say that this is 160 degrees. It's just measured from that positive x-axis and measured counterclockwise. The tricky one is the polar positive and negative, and that one requires a little bit more thinking. So you remember from math class that we can classify a graph into 4 quadrants, and they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. And what the polar positive negative specification tells us is if the vector is in quadrants 1 or 2, what we will end up doing is we will measure the vector counterclockwise from the positive x-axis, and that angle will be positive. Now if the vector is in quadrants 3 or 4, what we're going to do is still measure from the positive x-axis, however we're going to measure clockwise and our angle would be negative. So in this case, using the polar positive negative specification, if we want to measure this red vector right there, what that angle would be negative 40 degrees. So that's a little bit about the different kinds of specifications for vectors. Hopefully that helps you out.